Welcome to the Winning Move podcast. I'm your host, Stratton Brown. I interview successful entrepreneurs from around the world to see what moves they've made in their lives to get successful and, more importantly, stay successful. I'm here to make sure you can create a better life for you and your family. Let's tune in. Welcome to the Winning Move podcast. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I know it's been a while, really, since we've done anything solo. We've been doing a lot of free agent REI stuff, and we haven't been doing a lot of interviews just for the fact with the amount that I've been traveling, how much our businesses have been growing. I haven't really had the time. Honestly, I haven't time blocked it good enough to make it happen. But for all of you guys who've been reaching out saying, hey, where's the next episode? Thank you so much. We're really working. My team and I are really working on getting these things out on a significantly more consistent basis. But again, if this brings you any value, guys, I'm too cheap to run ads. Please like it, share it on social media, share it with your friends. But today we got some really cool things to talk about. I've been traveling, I'd say, for the last month or so. And the biggest thing, and I'm gonna be talking about some of the takeaways, right? These two masterminds that I've already gone to is I think a worth of about $70,000 total. And I've been going through some other growing pains inside of my other couple businesses. And I'll start off with the biggest thing that I think I've learned. And I think it is my biggest blessing, and it's probably holding you back. What's holding me back is my ego. And when I say my ego is holding me back, if someone tells me I can't do something, I'm going to hold on to it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to tell them, fuck you. And then I'm going to go, in all reality, I'd like to go buy them a car saying, hey, here's a gift from me, and then keep on pushing and keep on going. But it's held me back from pivoting out of certain things, holding on to certain things because they're doing well, to where if I would just cancel them out, it would free up a lot of emotional and mental space. And that way I could focus on something else, a different vehicle that would take me even closer to where I want to be. And that is something that you don't want to let go of, and I haven't want to let go of because of my ego. But the ego is the only thing that's gotten me here, right? But I truly think my ego is awesome, right? And everybody should have a massive ego. You're an entrepreneur. Your ego is what helps grow and helps feed everyone else who's working with you, working for you. But for me, it's a little bit different, right? And I'm going to run into this. I'll get past this moment, right? And then I'm going to run into it again, and I got to sit there and think about it. But my ego got to a point that was so bad. I'm on the phone with my mentor, right? Having another psychotic episode of why I'm unhappy, why I'm not happy with this business, why this isn't doing that. And word for word, he says, pull your head out of your ass and make the decision you need to make so we can make some more money. That's all. Pull your head out of your ass. It's your fucking ego. Let go of it and let's go. This is why you fucking paid me. And that was, again, eye-opening. But if you are in a situation to where you're holding on to something and you're grinding it out, it feels a little bit hard. One thing that a crypto guy named Jeff this weekend, I don't know who it was, and one of my mentors told me, is this vehicle that you're operating in going to get you to your goals when you want to get there? And how easy will it be? Right? So if I'm in a Honda Civic and my business is a Honda Civic, is it going to help me reach 100 miles an hour in 6 seconds? No. But if the next vehicle I chose to be in is a Tesla and it gets me from 0 to 60 in 2 seconds, that's a completely different game, and I'm in a vehicle that serves me. So with whatever you're doing, I think real estate still is one of the best vehicles that you can operate in to help you get to where you want to in the amount of time that you want to get there, right? So if you have a certain cash flow number you want to be at, what vehicle will get you there? If you're in business and it's not that business and you see the scalability of it, you see those other things, okay, man, it probably doesn't make sense. What can we operate in that will help us get there? It feels less heavy, and then we get there significantly faster, right? Is it actually scalable? What other things were taken away? I'll start with some takeaways from Powerhouse. Again, it's an amazing mastermind, bro. It's for the amount of value that I've gotten and everybody gets in there, and even the type of people you're surrounded with who are extremely high level entrepreneurs. It has been an absolute blessing. And one of the main guys, Josh Snow, who's worth an obscene amount of money at age 28, like obscene, a savant. He's a savant of a human, one of the best entrepreneurs I think he's the best entrepreneur I've ever met in my life, period. He's one of the most intentional people ever, to where he sets his mind to it, thinks about it, and then he's 100% intention on getting it done no matter what. And so, again, it goes down to focus, right? He can, even though at this point now, and I talk about this a lot, he truly only uses soft skills, right? And so that's leadership and sales, and then thinking on how to market better, but it's all just soft. It's all soft skills. It's not like hard computer skills or anything else like that. But he uses those soft skills to do whatever he wants, and then he can be really intentional with those things, which is wild, to where I don't even know how I could keep up with it. And the number one thing he tells me, like most people, not just me, right, is work less, make more. Apply that to everything else you do. Work less, make more. You're probably working too much. Like how everyone else's job is to make sure I don't work. And he used this example. One of his employees, like he went through and had this meeting of, hey, you're going to do this, you're going to do that. Yeah, you over there, you're going to do that. And one of his employees was like, hey, what are you going to do? He's like, well, I'm going to make sure that payroll's met, you have health insurance, and all these other things that I have to do to make sure you can grow, right? So that way you can be more significant in whatever you're doing. And that stuck with me, right? So if that's the way he thinks, then why am I not thinking that way? How can I delegate more? How can I delegate better, right? How can I can always delegate better. And in one of our companies, we've had a lot of growth and we've had hire on a lot of staff, but I could have delegated better and built it out more. But if he's telling me, hey, bro, you work too much, work less. I go into the office 2 times a week, and that's because I really want to, but work less. How can you work less in your business and make more money? Who are you surrounding yourself with, man, is one thing that I keep seeing has been the number one thing that shows me where I can go, to where I meet Josh, whose portfolio of companies is probably anywhere from $500 to $800 million. Up until that point, like, I didn't even know that was possible. Like, is that really humanly possible to do that? And yeah, you hear about people on the news, but then you go meet them, you're like, oh my God, it's real. We could do it. Like, it's right there. Like, it's tangible. He did it. I would have never thought that way if I never would have met him, if I wasn't surrounded with other people in there who are doing tens of millions to hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue, right? And yes, they still have good net profits, but I would have never even thought that was humanly possible unless I would have met them, right? I'm going to Tim Brott's mastermind in like 2 weeks, and Tim, I think, has a net worth of like $500 million or something. But I wouldn't even know that's possible until you meet him. Like, oh, wow, it's tangible. It's real. That's why I pay to get into these things, right? Proximity and seeing that it is possible. And then I'm sitting here thinking like, oh, wow, this is our goal. Oh, man, like that's, again, it's too small. It's too small. It's too small, number one, because I can't affect all of our employees and change their lives with the amount of money they make, right? And it's too small, too, for me. Oh, wow, he did it. And it's not a knock on him. It's more of a knock on me that I wasn't thinking big enough. I'm not trying to say Josh isn't an amazing entrepreneur, but Stratton, like, if he did it, bro, we can do it. Like, someone did it. Why don't we try and figure out how to do it and shoot bigger? And it'll be more fun. And I think over these last weeks, like, we're making more money. I'm trying to work less. But the biggest takeaway from this is who am I? The journey is the most important part. And who am I spending the journey with? And when I say that, right? So we've been to Dallas and went and connected with a bunch of our friends. We were in Austin. And then what was it? From before Austin, I was in Salt Lake with my family because my dad had a little bit of a health scare. But I was able to do that because of the way our businesses are set up. I get a phone call at 6 a.m. I fly out at 12. I'm there at 3. I drive directly to the hospital to go see my dad. And luckily, nothing was wrong. But that was all possible because of our businesses. But still, at the same time, I was able to do it. Like, I can spend time with the people that I love, even though I live in a different place and everything else. Some other takeaways from the Powerhouse Mastermind, one of the bigger like quotes is the amount of bullshit you can put up with and stress is probably directly correlated to the amount of money you make. And I've never thought about it this way up until a couple weeks ago. One of our companies was growing at an insane rate. And I was like, holy shit, I'm stressed out of my mind. I don't know what the fuck to do. What am I doing? And then I throttle it back because I'm scared. Like, oh, no, slow everything down. Oh, no, I'm scared. Like, I'm freaking out. Oh, no, I'm too stressed. Right? I'll grow past that. Right? But if I was a more seasoned entrepreneur and I was used to it and I'd learned that skill of, okay, no, this is just where we're at. This is how I handle it. I could have kept growing it and it would have grown more and I would have made more money, which is fascinating to me, right? Jeff Bezos just still solves problems. He has different problems. Next thing, overloading channel bandwidth. This is from a dude who runs a company called Lady Boss. They've done $175 million in revenue. And he said, if there are too many priorities, there are no priorities, which is very, very true for me. Like, think about you as an entrepreneur, how many priorities you have, and you're working in 9 different ways. And it goes back to the focus thing. You can't get them all done. If you can't get them all done, your team's for sure not going to get them all done. So that's why I love traction, right? You have 3 rocks. Work on these 3 really important things for this quarter, get them done. If we get the rocks done beforehand, all right, then we can move on. If not, then we probably have too many priorities. For me personally, I might even take it down to 1 rock, right? Like, okay, we have this 1 rock. Let's get this shit done and give that person that 1 rock they need to handle. And that's all that matters. The other thing that he spoke on that really stuck out to me was you're trying to grow, but don't try and grow a team just from inside out. And that's one thing we tried to do. We had people bitching because they weren't getting fucking hired up and everything else. Well, they weren't getting promoted up. And the first thing I said to everybody was, you know, that we've grown at like a 400 to, I don't even know what the rate is. Let's just say exponentially over a year. We've grown exponentially over a year. I cannot train you fucking fast enough to do the job I need you to do. I'm going to hire on someone else who's already been trained. I'm going to pay them really well. I'm going to put them in there, and that way they can do it. Eventually, yes, you'll get hired, but if you don't have the skills, and we probably at this point don't have the skills to develop you to get there, and someone else already knows how to do it, why wouldn't I just hire that person? Because if I hire you, I'm going to promote you. You're going to do it. You're going to suck at your job, and I'm going to have to fire you because you're not good enough, and then you're hurting the collective. And that, I mean, if he's having that type of stuff, right, it's going to be this way for fucking ever. And that's something I need to get over. Recruit the team more and develop less skills. Hire on skills and great people before you try and learn the skill and then teach again. So quit trying to learn the skill and teach again and just hire and take the fast track. Yes, it gets harder because we have different, like, it's a different culture base. You know, like, okay, yeah, we hired from outside and there's a risk of them not matching our culture, and we ran into that. But how can I just find the perfect fit and plug and play? Because if I'm going through and I have to keep learning a new skill after new skill, then I have to teach that new skill. Think about the amount of time and effort that I put into that, to where if I would have just hired on someone who's really good and let's probably pay above market rate for those wages, I'm going to be better off. And even if I am paying them above market rate, they're going to grow the company to where, okay, yes, we're making less margin, but I will take let's call it, we're only making 50% margin, and that'd be an amazing margin, instead of 65% margin because we hired this person, but our 50% margin is on 200 million and our 6% margin is off of 50 million. Let's do it. Let go of your ego, quit being cheap, and let's just hire that person and go. That was something that stood out to me. The next thing from a dude named Bedros, and he was the first speaker, was, what do I want to do that will grow my business that is very, very specific, to where everything I have been doing and thinking is not specific at all, or it's just not specific enough down to a T. This is what it's going to look like. This is how it's going to happen. I wrote it down. Here's how we go. Like, again, he was like, even, bro, why did you come to this mastermind? Like, what do you want to take away? Why are you working today? What are we going to accomplish? And how does it look? As stupid and simple as that sounds, I feel like and that goes into like the intention, right? Bro, you don't have any intention. Like, what is the true intention that you are going to follow, that you're going to make sure this shit happens no matter what? So what I took out of that is my goals need to be a lot more specific. And what is the exact outcome I want it to be. And then I need to implement that really, really fast. And he goes in and talks a little bit more. It's like, yeah, there's a lot of really, really smart people, but really whoever implements faster and then pivots out of it and then implements faster out of that pivot again is really going to make more money. Because if we're implementing fast, we're going to get really stressed. And that goes into that. Okay, well, the more stress I can handle, the more money I make. But then the faster I can implement and then handle that stress better after I made that pivot will help me grow more. So if you can apply those two things as different skill sets, right? I do think implementing fast is a skill set because you have to overcome. If you're an entrepreneur, right, you're thinking like, oh, all these different things. And that's why a lot of people can't handle being an entrepreneur because you have like all these what ifs and said, fuck it, jump, do it, go implement it. All right, I'm really stressed because it didn't quite work out the way I wanted it to. Nothing ever really has ever worked out the way I wanted it to. It didn't work out that way. Okay, sweet. Let's pivot. Wow, implement that pivot. Same thing happens, same thing happens, same thing happens, same thing happens. But then I can apply those two things of, okay, well, I can handle the stress and I can implement the idea that I came up with really fast, right? If we strike faster, then we'll make more money. I can't tell you the amount of ideas that I've had for quote unquote businesses to where I just thought about it. Yeah, I'm going to do it. Yeah, I'm going to do it. But I didn't implement like that. Someone else started the business or someone else implemented the idea. Someone else captured that first real group of revenue or that first group of profit. Generally, the first person into the marketplace makes the most money and they become the monopoly, like Xerox, Kleenex, whatever, like Ford. All of those things, they tend to be the first ones. Even Tesla. There's a lot of great car companies, but Elon Musk did it faster and did it right now. And then he pivots really fast. There's three different things everybody needs: financial success, financial security, and significance. And then I thought about myself, like, yeah, like I want security, and that comes from financial security, but I want security in my family. I do want financial success. I don't know how much yet, and that's a problem for me because then if I don't know how much I want, how am I going to get there? And then significance. I think that, I mean, for me, this goes into my ego thing. Like I was talking to my mentor and I was like, bro, I want to be the best. I was like, why do you want to be the best? I was like, I don't know. I just want to be significant, right? Whatever fucked up things happened to you in your childhood that you can't get over yet, that's why it's that way. But you still, it's okay to want to be significant, and it's just a part of life. That's some of the things I took from Bedros. The other thing he said, I need to bring in better talent. Focus until you hit a goal, and then start something else. But nothing else matters until we hit that goal. Then there are some other things on e-com, text messaging, client retention. The lady boss guy at a point in time was spending $60,000 a day in ad spend. And one of my biggest takeaways from him again was make more mistakes, make more bad decisions, and it goes into implementing, make decisions, and then ask what your customers want. All right. So instead of coming out and releasing a product that we really didn't send out a survey for, why don't we just email a bunch of our customer base, email our list, and say, hey, what do you think would benefit our company the most? And what would really not even that? What would benefit you the most? What do you need? Oh, well, I'd like X and X. And then we take that list and they filled out the survey, and we can keep sending it out till we get the amount of results we want. I'm like, hey, guess what? Here's the trend. 60% of people said X. Let's go release that product. As stupid, simple as that sounds, I run into it, and he said he's run into it. And if he's making significantly more money than me, I'm probably going to run into it again. But keep shit simple. Other thing that I thought was fascinating, he was like, what are the risks to your company? How can you protect your company? You need to know. So with COVID, nobody ever thought that would happen, but it's a risk. Nobody thought this supply chain shit would happen, but it's a risk. A company, he was using an example of a company who went from 600 million a year in rev to nothing because a TCPA law changed. $600 million a year in revenue. That, to me, that's a big business. If you sell that, you're selling it for billions. In an instant, it's gone because you built it on a glass house, or you didn't acknowledge, the fact that it was built on a glass house. And so when we are starting another company or starting a different company or pivoting, what are our actual downsides and like what's our risk mitigation? Are we actually thinking about it, or are you going out and being a wild west entrepreneur and just shooting? Yes, you built up a company that does millions of dollars a month, but if it can go away in an instant and there's no enterprise value, then what's the point? Like, you really worked on something for nothing. To where I heard two other instances of one dude who was an amazing guy named Jeff at the mastermind, who built out an app similar to ManyChat before it, and then Facebook eliminated him and sued him. Wild, like wild. But there was another dude to where I was talking to these other guys, and they had a really good friend who was 17 years old, and his company was doing, like, it did at a point in time $500 million in revenue off of free trials. But again, the government took him out because he somewhat built it on a glass house, and it was gone. All that money, all that hard work, because you didn't do things that were compliant, or you didn't think about the glass house you were building the glass foundation you were building your house on. It didn't stand. So, like, what type of foundation are you making for your business? The other thing you talked about is you need to be a financial auditor more, especially as you get to scale. There's a lot of moving parts that are going on. Someone's probably stealing from you, and someone is probably not doing their job. So you need to be able to financially audit more. And then he said, don't neglect your home life. And he said this: I refuse to do things I don't enjoy, that don't serve my family, that don't serve my God, and they're not fun and business. If it's not that, he says, fuck it, I'm not doing it. So he doesn't do laundry. He doesn't do dishes. Because, like, I mean, that amount of time, and this is true, like, okay, if I'm doing something and I'm not spending time with my kid, and at this point, we only get Zeno half the time, how much money is that time with my son worth, or that time with Kalani worth? You really got to weigh that out. And I tell my dad all the time, like, no, you aren't going to work on the yard. Let's just hire someone to do it so you can spend time doing other shit. And it's true. For me, I just want to spend time. I mean, yeah, for my business, because we serve a lot of other people in our business and our clients. But if I'm doing something and I truly don't think it's fun, why the fuck am I doing it? Why? I don't need to. I make enough money to where I don't need to. Like, it's not really going to serve me. Don't do it then. Don't do the laundry. Don't do the dishes. Fuck it. Learn how to develop a new skill to make more money so you can hire that out. Shit, go sell a couch a month. Like, oh, well, I found this couch on Craigslist. Blah, blah, blah. I did this. Okay, now I sell it. That pays for my housekeepers and maids. That's something that I think, like, higher level work. You need to figure out what level of work are you doing and how can we outsource the rest. Another thing you talked about is assuming that employees can hold themselves accountable. And he has an all virtual team like we do. He's like, bro, just give them a set check-in time and a set checkout time, or everyone's just going to take advantage of you 100%. Some other e-com really specific things that they're doing, but some other people in there are selling to private equity. One dude's talking about selling his company for like 50 million to another private equity firm. And other people are talking about, well, you know what you need to do? And this is for the younger people. This guy just said he was out. He wanted to go work at a restaurant, or buy a restaurant and work at it because that's what he enjoyed and he missed the team. The other two are like, you know what you need to do is you need to take the chips off the table. It's okay to sell the company and then take all that cash and buy another company, scale that, sell that again. And then why don't we just start acquiring companies? It's just like real estate, but with businesses. And that made me really think, like, okay, just have a liquidity event, because it's never guaranteed. And they're talking about right now is there's more money institutionally out there than anything else. You can get stupid amounts of money for sometimes really stupid businesses. And you can take that money, take all the chips off the table, and you can guarantee, like, let's say we sell our company for just like $3 million. We take $1 million. Well, we netted $3 million. I take $1 million and I put it in the bank. And that's for my wife to feel comfortable. And for me, really, I put $1 million and I go put it in the S&P 500 and I just let it sit. Like, it's worthless. I don't need the money anyways. It's not worthless, but it's there so it can grow. Or I go put it in a fund of real estate and that's what I keep working. And then I take out $200,000 for each kid, put it in their college funds. And again, let's put that in S&P 500 or in real estate. And then after that, we have $800,000. We can use that to go buy a business, or we can use whatever other money that's sitting there. Let's say we have another $1 million, and then we have the other 800,000. We have 1.8, and we can go buy another business. But this time we don't have to start it again. A rocket will expend the majority of its energy at takeoff. The hardest part in business is getting the business off the ground. So if I can buy some other businesses, apply economies of scale. So we're looking at acquiring a company right now. And I saw these like 4 things. I was like, well, I can remove. And when I buy it, I'll remove several people in their team because it doesn't fit, because our team already works. We have these economies of scale. And it's easy. The phone's already ringing. It's over. Like, okay, now most companies grow not through growth, but through acquiring. They buy other companies. And so you can apply that in both ways of your life. Can I be the acquirer, or can I sell off? I can even leave some, or I can even carry a note and I still get paid on that. And that still leaves me with some security and income that's monthly recurring. And you'll probably have to work on it a little bit more. But you can do some really amazing things if you build something and sell it. And then you have what they call liquidity event. And then the world is your oyster. Right. So with us, one of our companies makes me enough money to where I could not, like, I can focus on it lightly. And I can sit and I can think for 4 fucking months and not do a goddamn thing until I find the business I want to do again. That gives me security. That money's coming in. That's why people like buying real estate. So you have some security there. But that money comes in. No matter what I do, the money will come in. But now I can truly sit there and think, oh man, what opportunity do I want to go for next? And I can sit and I'm going to build my brand a lot, but I'm in no rush. I know, and this goes into the ego thing, like don't fight your ego, don't just jump into something so it makes you money. But I'm sitting here thinking, like, what do I truly want to do? I've built something that makes me money. My family's secure. Not everybody, but at least my core is secure. I have enough money to live. But now I can go really jump at an amazing opportunity. Pull my head out of my ass, stop focusing on a vehicle that doesn't really serve me. Leave it there. But now, oh wow, this is really fun. Oh, I see this business. I really like the margins. It doesn't have that many employees. And that's what I'm looking for, right? Like a business that I want to buy. But then I have the security. I actually have some other liquid funds that I can use to fund that thing if I want to. And I can go from there. And that is something that is like hard to realize, but then it's really fun to think of like, okay, what else could I start that'll have enterprise value? What else do we have? A dude named, okay, Jesse Elder. A dude named Jeff spoke about crypto. If you guys have, yeah, for sure, Gary. And I think Dan, I don't know if Dan Pena's a liar, honestly. Like I wanted to go to one of his events at a point in time, and I was like, I don't know, is it worth it? But yeah, M&A is where it's at. I don't see many people talking about this. I'm looking to buy a company too soon. Dan Pena strategy. There's a dude named Kyle Milan, and I haven't bought any of his stuff, but one of my friends knows him, and another one of my friends is in his business, well, in his mastermind, and all he teaches is how to acquire companies. All you're just playing real estate with businesses. At real estate at its true form and the way you should treat it is a business, right? That's why we like self-storage. It's a lot more business, even though and there's not as many people involved. But you can acquire some really, really cool things. If real estate is just your beginning entry into business, and then you decide to go down one road, but you have a fuck ton liquid because you got real estate really well. And this is when I say like wholesaling is a way for you to make a lot of fucking money. But just because you don't scale to be the biggest wholesaler in the world doesn't mean you're not scaling or growing, right? But let's say you get this thing to making you $50,000 a month. All right, it's there, it's working. But now I can go and I can acquire a lot of multifamily, and the vertical probably serves you well, because if you learn how to make $50,000 a month, you may realize this thing isn't what I want. I can go buy 3 different apartment complexes a year, and maybe I sell one off and I make X million a year from that sell, or maybe I refinance it and I keep them all, and then I package it all together and I can sell it again to private equity, who's a REIT, and make a fuck ton of money, and then decide what else I want to do. But I love the strategy, and it's something I'm looking more into. And maybe I do start another one from scratch because I'm a psychopath or something else. But the whole crypto thing with Jeff Selinger, Google him we'll look him up on Instagram. 60% of Bitcoin, so Bitcoin represents 60% of the crypto market. The other 40% is other coins and altcoins and shit coins. If you follow Bitcoin, you'll never go wrong as far as the trends go. He runs a fund. If you want to put money into the fund, cool. And all coins except Bitcoin will drop. So I need to rephrase that. So if Bitcoin drops 10%, all of the other coins will drop 20%, just for just for easy math, which was really, really exciting. And he was one of the people who said, and there was several people who said the next crash will be the biggest crash. And based off of, and there's him and a dude named Chris Noggle reading different books saying the next big crash is going to be next crash period is going to be the really, really big one, just based off of debt cycles and everything else. And you can read a Ray Dalio book about it called The Big Debt Crisis. It's pretty wild. So be prepared, have yourself liquid, and be ready to capitalize, because the majority of your money, right? Let's say, okay, I had a liquidity event. I sold all of my companies. I made $50 million. Then the market crashes. I have 50 million liquid to go buy assets for pennies on the dollar. And I'm liquid enough, and I can go raise some more cash because people saw that I'm smart because I sold it. And they have faith in me. I built my brand by building up a company to X. That's really big. That helps your brand. Then I sold it for X. That even helps my brand even more. People see that you're legitimate. People see that you're intelligent. Now, when the market crashes, I can go take the funds that I have, and then, okay, I'll put some of my funds into this fund, and then we can go acquire even more shit for pennies on the dollar when that event comes. And that's some of the things that they were saying, is like, hey man, have some cash on the sideline. He runs a hedge fund, a crypto hedge fund, and they have a lot of cash on the sideline. They think there's going to be a significant dip at the beginning of the year, and they're like, no, we're ready. We'll have it liquid. We'll pull out some money right now, and when the time comes, we're going to buy it all up. We'll be good to go. Like, they're playing a different game, right? I've been thinking too small. I try, and whenever I'm talking to you guys, right, I feel like I share my growth. We've probably been thinking a little bit too small. Yes. And this is in whatever vertical you're in, right? But like, what else is going on in those verticals to where even in real estate, we drive by billions of dollars of real estate a day. Why aren't we trying to do those instead of just wholesaling little dinky houses? Why aren't we trying to own all that instead of just wholesaling little dinky houses, right? It's all growth. It's all growth. The next part that we learned from Powerhouse Wealth, which is a part of Powerhouse, is just a different section of the mastermind. The housing market is 4 million units short. And this is coming from another guy who said there's just a supply problem. So it'll be really hard for the real estate market to crash, but some type of market will crash. Never play another man's game is something the other guy was saying in there, saying, know your game, know how you make money. Don't try and go make money the way he makes money, because he makes money that way. That's his game. Why not make your own game? Play that game. That's a lot funner when we know the rules. We don't want to play someone else's game where they decide and make the rules. That doesn't make any sense. Let's do something else. Power of Zero is a book they wanted to do. I need to start a self-directed 401k is something that I learned. And then another guy who spoke there, his name was Tom Shipley. Tom has built several different e-commerce, I think cosmetic brands, sold them for like hundreds of millions to if not billions of dollars at a time. And his biggest thing is more failure, more failure, more failure, more failure, and then more failure. Go fail more often. He used the vehicle example. And then he used the example of all of you guys should go read Blue Ocean Strategy. It's a book about what ocean are you operating in a nutshell. A red ocean is a really saturated ocean. A blue ocean is a ocean that is clean and nobody's there. And he said, well, I don't like operating in a blue ocean because then I have to create an audience for the product. Why don't I just pivot slightly and operate in a purple ocean? So that way I still have all the client base. I know exactly what they want. I don't have to create a completely new client base, and then we're there. That was really exciting. And if he's done it and he's like, say, that strategy is cool, but I've done this. I've made hundreds of millions of dollars. Why not just do this instead of having to legitimately reinvent the wheel? Blue Ocean Theory tells you to reinvent the wheel. Why don't we just kind of pivot the wheel just slightly enough to where, okay, now we're operating in a purple ocean. It moves, but our offer is pretty much just better. I'm trying to think of anything else that I think would be really good that would apply to you guys. He said every entrepreneur needs to have 3 different exits in their lifetime as far as businesses go, which I thought was really cool. And then Chris Noggle, most of you real estate guys have seen him. I got to talk to him for a while. I thought he was awesome. His infinite banking stuff is crazy, especially if you're a real estate investor. Over time, that thing can be super powerful for you. And Big takeaway, I need to get life insurance policies on my kid. That's what I learned from Powerhouse. I'm thinking way too small. And how can I create a business that I can actually have a liquidity event with? And that could be real estate, right? If I'm owning a bunch of real estate and I'm acquiring it all, and then I package it up and I sell it to a REIT, and like, okay, because I have economies of scale. One of my friends is thinking about it. I think he just listed it for 40 million, one of his portfolios. And he's like, well, I have economies of scale. Money is hot. There's money everywhere. I can sell this thing. We make 40 million fucking dollars. How else am I going to make 40 million dollars? Then I can do what I want. And this is coming from a guy in our Storage Rebellion mastermind. To where in Storage Rebellion, that is one of the most embarrassing things I think you could ever do is sign up for a mastermind, go to the mastermind, and then we had to show up 6 months later or like 8 months later, like, hey, yeah, they're all talking about like what's going on in self-storage. Then me and Kalani are standing there with our thumbs in our ass because we've been working really hard, but we still haven't gotten a deal. That's embarrassing, right? Like, because it goes back to the significance of like, oh yeah, no, we're accomplishing this, we're doing this, we're rolling, we're working hard, things are working, but we show up again and we don't have one under contract or anything. Super frustrating. And that goes into its own little ego piece of itself. But some bigger takeaways from the Storage Rebellion Mastermind is that, again, work less, make more. Most of these guys make a lot of money and they work like no time. That's why the asset class is growing so much. Yeah, and Kalani said the mastermind was embarrassing. It was embarrassing, dude. That shit was embarrassing of, oh, wow, we show up. Yeah. And they're like, oh, yeah, like you guys will kill it right away, blah, blah, blah. We show up again. We don't have any fucking assets under management, blah, blah, blah. It sucked, right? So, again, that's another reason you should join a mastermind. So you got accountability and you don't want to show up to that bitch again when you have nothing going on. Nothing. That's one of the great parts of the mastermind. They ask you like, oh, yeah, how are things going? How have you grown? And you tell them like, oh, yeah, we haven't really, well, we've grown, right? And the roots are building, but like there's no tree yet. That's hard to come to terms with when you're in a group full of other successful entrepreneurs who are growing and they're doing it better. And like they can see it, but you can't see it. And then you have to really look at yourself in the mirror like, okay, what metrics are we missing? What are we not doing every day to make that shit happen? And it's our fault, right? It's my fault for several different reasons that we aren't there. But it's fascinating to where if you join a mastermind, I'd say fucking 80% of it on top of the relationships. And usually there's like one dude who started the mastermind who will bring you immense business value. But you have someone holding you accountable, and it's a group of people. They're like, oh, yeah, what's going on? And then we got to write what's going on. This is what we're doing. But we talked about that the last time we were there. And so like, nah, shit's changed. Bro, that's why I join these things. That's why you get a coach. So they hold you accountable. And you can't just talk to yourself and tell yourself it's okay. It's not fucking okay. We got to do more. That's okay. But back now, it's a little bit of a tangent. The Storage Rebellion Mastermind, I think, again, is another amazing mastermind. I think Mike Wagner is a savant. And this goes into building the life. A lot of it is building the life that you want, to where something that really stuck with me, Mike is a really, really good entrepreneur. He's like, well, I just bought this property in an opportunity zone. It's been really stressful. I bought it. He's going to make a ton of money off of the equity in it, all tax-free. But he's like, well, I don't really want to work anymore. It's not an ego thing. I'd rather spend more time with my kids. I think his kids are like 6 years old or something. He's like, in 10 years, they're not going to want to spend any time with me. And then my energy will go somewhere else. So imagine applying this fucking tenacity of an entrepreneur you have into your family because you set yourself up financially. Imagine that. So I sold my company and I applied all of that company tenacity into being an amazing father and husband and son. You're going to be an amazing person, right? And you set yourself up financially with the means to be able to do that. He's like, that's the choice I made. He's like, I know, like I'm missing out on some things now, but I'll never get that time back with my kids. And honestly, like even like after kids are 12, they really don't want to do anything with you. They're going to middle school, doing drugs and shit, right? They're out there having fun with their friends. They don't really want to spend time with you. And so he's like, well, I can capture all of that time right now. And then when something else is going, and he's like, bro, my portfolio is still growing exponentially every year, but I work a lot less and I focus all of my energy on my family. I think that's the biggest return I could get. That stuck with me. I mean, because it's a hard thing to do. And for me, I don't feel like I have enough money to feel comfortable to do that. If I had if I made as much money as he makes and I had the system set up, I might. I don't know. But how can you create something that allows you to do that for your family? Because like, what am I really? Yeah, you say you're doing this for your family, but you're really doing it for you, right? You say, oh, well, I'm building this company for my family. Like for me, I'm building this shit for me. At this point, like if we could be happy living off of, we wouldn't struggle living off of fucking $100,000 a year, really. Like, I mean, we could get by. We may not be able to travel as much as I want to, and it may not have the nice cars that I want, but like we'd get by. But at that level of money, I could pretty much do whatever I wanted, and I could probably hire on better staff, go to the office one time a week. Still have to give myself purpose, right? Even though you are a really good dad, you got to do shit that makes you happy. But like, think about that. How could you create a life like that? How could you create a life to where your entrepreneur tenacity goes into your family? That's something that I'm thinking about, right? To where, okay, maybe I do have a liquidity event, and then I'd go all in for a year just with my family, and I think about what business do I want to start next? What does it look like? What am I going to do? What do I want? That sounds really fun to me. And so that, I would say, is the biggest takeaway from the Storage Rebellion. I mean, they're doing some really crazy stuff that's really technical that most of you guys wouldn't apply to you. But the biggest mindset takeaways is, I think, create something that you can sell for a large amount of money that brings a lot of value. And then you can actually think. You can actually apply, instead of like all the day-to-day bullshit and solving all those problems, you can focus all your time on solving a really, really big problem that a lot of people have. So a lot of people give you a lot of money because you deliver so much value and you do something really cool. That, in a nutshell, is what I've learned over the last 6 weeks. Money, I do truly think money buys happiness, because we've been, stressed out, but I was able to fly out on the drop of a dime to go see my father, who I thought was dead. I could go comfort my mom. I didn't care about the fucking prices of the tickets. I could have paid a lot of money and it wouldn't have mattered. I would have been there and I wouldn't have hurt myself financially. And surrounding myself with amazing people who I love and care about, and whether that's with the masterminds allow me to talk to really amazing people, build relationships with people who think like me, they get my problems, they care about me. And then how can I think bigger to create something that is truly going to bring value to the marketplace? Whether real estate brings value to the marketplace. Don't think this isn't real estate, right? Fuck, everybody needs to live somewhere. That's fucking bringing value, right? But how can you think bigger to do something that's like massive liquidity, and then sit back and think? And it doesn't even have to be liquidity. It could just be, okay, I'm going to do something. I have my number, and that number is good for you, and you know what the number is, and you just live for the rest of your life. It's okay. Like, you aren't the dude who's selling stuff for billions, but you can legitimately do whatever the fuck you want. That's the reason we got into this shit. I didn't get into this shit to manage a bunch of fucking people. I got into this to do whatever the fuck I want. So how can I structure my life that way? Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Please, I'm telling you guys, think bigger. It'll change your life. And for all you guys who've been reaching out to us, thank you guys so much. Please like and share with your friends. Go leave us a review. Share it on social. I'm sure if it does bring you value. And thank you guys so much. I will talk to you soon.
Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of the Winning Move Podcast. I hope it helps you make all the right moves in your life and business. Please make sure to go like and subscribe on any podcast platform that you're listening to. And make sure to go follow me on Instagram @StratDaddy. Thank you guys so much.